let's set up a leafy moss pole together. Step one, you're gonna take your moss pole. I'm using the small moss pole here, and I'm gonna just first fold along where the actual perforation is for the front of the pole. We're folded. We've got essentially our little tray to lay flat here. So you can see my pole here. I'll pull it back a little bit. So this is where we're going to lay our moss before we even bother to pot up. I've got my sphagnum moss here, which looks quite compact because I was trying to make sure it was well soaked in here, and I've soaked it in water that has foliage focus already in it, ready to go. We're gonna take the moss out of here, and what you're gonna wanna do is grab some, I'm gonna kind of pull it here, and give it a good squeeze. You can see all that excess water coming out. You really want the moss damp, not soaked. So you can see now it might drip if I really give it a good shake, but otherwise that's it. And then you're just gonna fill in your pole. I'm gonna point you down a little bit here so you can see. You're just gonna fill in the pole. Now, all of the leafy moss poles that are larger than the mini have multiple sizes, so you can adjust how thick you want your pole. I like my poles a bit thicker because they hold more moisture that way. I'd normally say the bottom here a little bit. So this is the bottom of my pole. I keep maybe the bottom centimeter open so I can get some of the actual growing media that I'm using. I'm using our chunky and funky soil substrate here. Now let's go ahead and seal our pole up. So first thing we're gonna do is start with the middle two. So pop that one in, and before you push it all the way in, I'd say get another one in just so you've got two in there and you're good to go. Those are locked in, and then these last two you can kind of do separately. So I've got the pole set up, ready to go. So you can see we have a moss pole. Easy, no zip ties, nothing like that. It's done. What I like to do, and I've definitely learned this from watching other people do moss poles, is take the plant and actually line it up on the pole with the roots, where the roots are going to go and where you're going to attach the actual plant. So what I'm saying here is if the pole's in the pot, the roots are obviously going to be down here at the bottom, and the plant is going to be starting here at the base of the pole. From there, I can actually attach this with the leafy tape. Now my plant is attached, so I'm not holding it, and that will allow me to take this plant, got a clear nursery pot here, and drop it in just to make sure I'm good size-wise. I knew I was going to be pretty good, but what that shows me is kind of how much substrate I can put in the pot before I start planting it in. So you can see there, I've got that little bit of substrate in there. I'm gonna put the plant in. There we go. And that way I can wiggle those legs down over that substrate and help fill that in. And then I'm gonna actually just scoot my potting media over here and just start to fill that up. Now remember, because we've left that bottom bit open in the leafy pole, you'll wanna get your finger in there and kind of make sure you really get some actual bit of that substrate in there as well. And you can give your pot a squeeze, kind of wiggle it around. The idea here is you don't wanna leave that spot empty because it'll be a big old pocket of air and your soil mix will dry out quite quick. But you also want the stability of having the actual potting media in there. As you can see now, I can actually hold the plant by the pole. If you can't, or if it feels really wobbly, it's probably not secure. So I would plant your pole a little deeper than that. Otherwise you'll end up with a pole that's really wobbly, and as your plant grows, that's gonna become even more of a hassle, a risk, whatever you wanna say there. The last thing you're gonna wanna do here, I know your actual moss here is already moist, but you're gonna want to wet your moss and have the water drain through the moss into the substrate, because as you move forward, you will be watering these plants from the top of the moss. I've got my water here that, again, has some foliage focus in it, and I've just got a bucket, a yogurt bucket at that I'm basically using just to catch any water, and I'm gonna show you, I water kind of the top of the pole and let it go through there. I have poured the ½ liter of water through the pole, so you can actually see if I lift it up here, it's draining out the bottom. And if I show you the back here, you can actually see the water is kind of resting inside the pot as well. So the actual substrate in the pot is getting wet, which is great because the plant doesn't have any roots in the moss yet. So I still do need to have some moisture guaranteed in the bottom. I hope you found this helpful and you feel ready for your leafy pole. Okay, bye.